All right, what is going on, guys? It's Wednesday. I'm out in the desert because it's my Sunday, and I figured I would finally getting around to reviewing the Foxeer Toothless. And the reason why it's taken me so long is because when I got it, I actually thought it was defective. I've kind of posted about it. I didn't post a video about it, but I've talked about it a little bit. But I had these like diagonal lines, and at first I was like, that must be like power noise. So I put it on a different quad. Same thing. I ended up trying 3 different quads, and I kept having these diagonal lines. So, I just thought it was my quad, and I was like, I'm not going to do a disservice to Foxeer and post this. But I mentioned it in one of my other vlogs, and somebody, let me find the picture. So this guy named Steve Evans commented on the video, and he actually told me that the reason I was getting the diagonal lines is because I had a ground loop issue with the analog mod in my DJI goggles. And I totally brushed it off because, and you guys have seen my other videos, my footage with all of my other analog cameras looks great. So for some reason, this ground loop issue only presents itself with the Foxeer Toothless, or so I thought. What made me give it a second look was that when I got the newbie drone Acrobee, you guys probably saw that video yesterday. When I got that quad, it had the same thing, and I was like, oh no, maybe this guy Steve was right. So I think that was last week. So I started tearing the goggles apart, tore the analog mod apart, and I basically figured out a solution to get rid of the diagonal lines. And then so let me show you that. I'll show you the goggles, and then we'll get to flying the Toothless, and we'll see how it looks. All right, guys. So basically, what the issue is that with the DJI analog mod, this is the one I got from Rick. And since then I've heard of people complaining about the same issue with the that Banggood mod 2, the URAV or whatever. So what's happening is normally when we wire these things up, we have power input from the LiPo, and then it kind of like piggybacks inside here, feeds a BEC, that feeds the module, and then comes back out to power the goggles. And you can see that cable is now missing. So what Steve said is that was causing a ground loop. And I tried to fix it within the analog mod with moving the video ground to different places, and that didn't work. So basically what I ended up doing is I'm powering the goggles and the analog module separately. So I just made this cheesy little Y splitter for a LiPo, and I'm running 2 cords. And that pretty much fixed it. If you guys can think of a solution to get rid of the ground loop and still use one power cable, I'm all ears. I'll try anything. But using the 2 separate power cables so far has seemed to work out for me. And then this is the Toothless. You'll see that I actually replaced the lens. That's a Runcam RC18G, because the Toothless lens is really wide. So previously, the RC18G was pretty much the widest field of view on the market. And that was until I tried the lens on the Toothless. It was way too wide. It was kind of nauseating. So I just swapped it out for a Runcam lens. That works great. But yeah, let me get set up. I've got a 4-cell on here so I can get some satellites, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so you guys can see, just got my 2 cables. It's not really a big deal. You probably saw it. You might have saw it in the newbie drone video, and didn't even realize it. Okay, so I've got 11 satellites. Let me adjust my power. Alright guys, so OSD is turned off just so you can kind of see the picture, and you can see now it's basically crystal clear. But let's fly it and then we'll talk about it. We're just gonna go fly out to the reservoir and take a look at the water. I'll probably periodically turn my OSD on to make sure I still have satellites. I've got to go this way. But yeah, so half-inch sensor. So, you know, the bigger the sensor, the more detail, the more light. Dynamic range is awesome. You can see maybe, no, it adjusted. But yeah, some cams, you look at the light and it kind of makes everything dark. But, you know, these big sensor cameras have great dynamic range. So let's go take a look at the water. Pretty good. Little noisy, but you know, it's kind of the same with the Runcam Eagle and the Caddx Ratel. Well, the Ratel's pretty clean. Okay, let me check my OSD. Yeah, we'll just leave it on until I can get home. I don't even remember this washout being here. Okay. Yay for home, Arrow. There we are. There's these people here in like a motorhome. Who knows what the hell they're doing? All right, so yeah, that was the Toothless. Okay, let's talk about who the Toothless is for. It's not so much a race camera. I think it has somewhere around 22 milliseconds of latency, as confirmed by drone mesh. You know, whether or not you think you can actually feel that latency. But so this is comparable to like the Runcam Micro Eagle or the Caddx Ratel. These cameras all have bigger sensors than things like the Runcam Racer or the Foxeer Predator. And when you have those bigger sensors, you know, you are processing more information. That's where the latency comes from, but you're getting a clearer picture, much better dynamic range, better low light performance. And I'm totally stoked on the camera now that I know the line issue I had was that ground loop in my analog mod. As soon as I powered the mod and the goggles separately and the image cleared up, I was just blown away. I guess to sum it up, you know, I always liked the Eagle cameras, but I didn't like the shimmer effect that they had. That kind of put me off. And then the Ratel, the Caddx Ratel, the Ratel is beautiful. It's a beautiful image, but it's super inconsistent. Like, people talk about variable latency. The Caddx Ratel is 10 times worse than digital. And I'll probably get like a ton of thumbs down for saying that, but I have one and it's horrible. It depends on the lighting. If you're in a really dynamic lighting situation, the Ratel cannot keep up. Like the picture will shift and kind of like stutter. It's insane how terrible the Ratel is. The image is really good, And if you're flying in like consistent lighting, I guess maybe it works for you. But if you're flying through shadows or in and out of sunlight, it's awful. It's just awful. But the Foxeer, I do see a little bit of that like image shift, but it's not nearly as bad. The Eagle doesn't have it at all. The Foxeer has it just a little bit, but it's way more manageable. So yeah, I think it's a great camera. I think it's great for freestyle and like for me long range. Like right now I'm kind of stuck on analog for long range, and so I want the most detail I can have. And cameras like the Toothless or even the new Phoenix 2, that's pretty much like where it's at. It's the Toothless and probably the Phoenix 2 right now are like going to be like the best image that you can get out of a micro analog camera. And the Eagle 2 Micro or the Eagle Micro is still up there. It's still awesome. I flew one. I didn't fly one, but I watched one through the goggles a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like kind of blown away too by that camera, because I had kind of forgotten how good it was. So yeah, they're all awesome cameras. Biggest con for me for the Toothless is the lens. I hated it. It's too wide. It's like it was way too wide. Like I mounted it on the quad, and I could like see the ground in front of me and the antenna behind me. It was maybe not that exaggerated, but it's way too wide. Some people might be into that, but it made me super nauseated. So yeah, guys, that's my late review of the Foxeer Toothless. It's a great cam for freestyle pilots and long range pilots. Sorry, Foxeer, it took me so long to get that one out. Guys, if you have any questions about the analog mod, or if you're noticing diagonal lines and you think the picture just looks crappy, that might be your issue. So try powering the analog mod separately from the goggles and see if that clears up. Let me know in the comments, okay? Whew. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.